Today we're checking out one of the most cutting-edge fat tire electric bike on the market right now. Not only does it have 100 Newton meters of torque and a top speed of around 28 miles an hour, but it has an electronic drivetrain that uses AI to shift the gears for you. Oh, okay, I'm joking about the AI part, but it does shift for you and it makes sure you're always in the right gear using sensors throughout the bike. It's called the Aventure M by a teeny tiny little e-bike brand called Aventon. And today, we're gonna review it. We're gonna have a close look at every component on this new steed. And after that, I'm gonna be taking it outside to put it through the gauntlet with all of these real world tests. So right now, I'm gonna top up this UL certified 20 amp hour battery with a supplied 4 amp charger. And in the meantime, why don't you guys check out the beauty shots? Yeah, cue the B-roll. Let's start out back. The new Aventure M rolls on a set of 26-inch diameter, 4-inch wide fat tires. They've got some really aggressive tread, which will be perfect for taking it off-road. Plus the center channel here is almost steady, which should keep it pretty quiet on the road. You get metal fenders, front and back, and it rolls on some reinforced wheels with some really thick spokes. And to take it a step further, you get through axles in the front and in the back. Wait, where's the motor? Now, I know you guys know this already, but this bike has a mid-drive motor. That's what the M stands for. The normal Adventure 3 has a hub motor in the back. This A100 mid-drive motor by Aventon is the ultimate for a smooth torque sensing bike that can actually get some decent range out of a 20 amp hour battery. Not only that, but a mid-drive motor uses the chain to drive the bike. So you can compound all the gears that's on this bike for some extra torque using the Shimano Q's derailleur. You get a 10-speed cassette back here and a really decent sized chainring that's protected with a guard. You get some generic cranks and some plastic pedals that actually have some decent spikes in there. Nice. The bike comes outfitted with the rack, and this one can hold 59 pounds of weight. The Adventure M's a hardtail frame, and that's great for simplicity and durability. But Aventon's got a trick up their sleeve for comfort. Check this out. The seat post actually got some suspension in it. Match that with a nice comfy, cushy seat, and this should be a pretty comfortable ride. Of course, the seat height's adjustable too. This is it at its lowest point. And it can go all the way up here at its highest. That's about 10 inches of seat post right here for adjustments. Check out the brake lights and turn signals that are built into the back of the frame. We're gonna turn these on in just a sec, but first, let's check out the front of the bike. Now, I've seen some frames with some shoddy welds before, and this is not one of them. Look at how clean the welds are on this frame. And that's throughout the frame. You can barely see any of the welds. It's super well done, and the paint is very well executed as well. Now, you do get the rear rack included with the bike, but if you wanted to add extra storage, they sell a front rack that you can bolt onto the bike using these 4 screws here. Here's a close-up of the front suspension fork. Looks like you get a decent amount of travel. The fork has a through axle for the ultimate stiffness up front. You also get a lockout right here on the right, and preload here on the left to make the fork a little bit stiffer. The fork feels really smooth, just the way it's supposed to. And you can lock it up. Check out the brakes on this bike, and this is definitely a big highlight for this bike. You get a set of SRAM 4-piston hydraulic brake calipers biting onto 200 mil rotors. And it's the exact same setup out front and out back. Of course, you get a set of matching SRAM DB4 hydraulic levers. These feel really, really good, just like mountain bike brakes, and you can adjust them with this little set screw. You can bring them out or in, depending on how big your fingers are. This is an extremely nice set of brakes for a bike like this. Here's a close-up of the little teeny tiny headlight. It's small, but if I know anything about Aventon, this thing's sure to pack a punch. The other thing to note is that this bike does have turn signals, but not up front, only in the back. Here's a shot of the handlebars. They've got a nice, decent rise, and they're actually pretty wide, which will give us a really strong handle on the front of the bike. So I'm 5'9", and I went with the regular size for the Adventure M. The stem my bike came with is a 60mm stem. It's not the longest out there, and it's definitely not the shortest. So you've got room to bring it in or out, depending on what you like for reach. Let's take a look at the controls. On the right, you get a nice soft rubber lock-on grip. And check this out. This is the electronic shifter by Aventon. All you gotta do is just click here to go up and down your gears. Or you can tell the bike to shift automatically for you, and I'll show you that once we take it outside. On the left here, you get the same soft rubber grip with lock-on, and right here's a nice simple remote. power button in the middle, left and right for your turn signals, and plus and minus for your pedal assist modes. Let's turn the bike on. I'll show you guys the display. Okay, holding the power button should get us some power. Perfect. So on the top left corner, holding the plus button, you'll turn your headlight on and off. It's nice, the screen dims down so it doesn't blind you in the dark. On the top right, you get the battery with percentage. Right here shows you how many watts is cycling through the motor. Really nice to see. In the middle here, of course, is your speedometer. You can set this in miles or kilometers an hour. Down here's your power mode. Right now in the off position, you can pedal the bike with no power, just like a normal mountain bike. But using the plus button here, I can go into Eco, Sport, Auto, and Turbo. And of course here on the right, you get your odometer, your range, all that good stuff. I gotta show you guys the menu as well. Holding the plus and minus button together, you get the full menu of the bike. You can clear your trip, you can unlock the battery to take it out. This will completely lock your bike out. You can change the display units, the brightness of the screen, how long it takes the bike to power off. You can play with your auto shift, set a password, check out your errors, and you can also connect to the app. I'll definitely be showing you guys the app once we take it out for a ride. Now I'm sure you guys will notice that there's something missing here. There's no throttle. The Adventure M comes as a pedal assist bike only, but check this out. Right here tucked away is the cable to hook up your own throttle. Aventon sell the throttle on their website so you can spec your bike with or without a throttle. All you gotta do is just clamp it onto your bar, plug it in here, and boom, you've got a throttle on the new Adventure M. Okay, while I got the bike powered up, let's check out the headlight. Nice. Look at how punchy this little beam is. Nice and wide with a sharp cut at the top. See, I told you guys, small but mighty. And here's a close-up of the back of the frame. The bike's on right now, so there's no daytime running lights, but as soon as you turn the headlight on, there you go. These lights are just gonna be for extra visibility. They don't get brighter when you apply the brakes, but they do have the turn signals on. Left and right. Nice. All right, I've seen enough. Why don't we take this thing outside so I can show you all the cool things that this bike can do. Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon. Today, we're taking a look at the brand new Aventon Adventure M. And the M stands for mid-drive. This bike is so packed with technology. I have a bunch to show you guys today on our ride. We're gonna test out the top speed, the acceleration, the hill climb, the auto shift, every single feature that they've jam-packed to this bike, we're gonna take a look at together today. And guys, with the test I'm gonna show you, I couldn't bull you if I tried. You're gonna see how fast the bike goes. You're gonna see how well it accelerates. You're gonna see if it can stop in time or not. Everything will be black and white. I'm gonna speak on a couple of things that I feel, like comfort or build quality, things I come up. And if I find anything I don't like about this bike, you're gonna hear about it. It's an expensive bike, I know, it's quite the investment, but from what I can see so far, the build quality is super premium. And there is a ton of tech built into this bike that I have to show you guys. So let's get going. Okay, we got a full battery, so let's do the hill test. I'm gonna start right here at my fire hydrant, and up ahead is a nice, long, sustained, about 15% grade hill. Let's do something different here. Since this bike doesn't have a throttle and I can't just motor my way up, I'm gonna have to pedal up. So let's start without any power. I'm gonna go into the granny gear here. There we go. And you know what? This bike's actually pretty easily pedalable, even without any power. Not as heavy as the bikes we usually review on the channel here. But it's an e-bike, so let's make this hill disappear. Let's start in eco here. I'm getting a little bit of power. But in eco, to be honest, it's literally just to counteract the weight of the bike, right? It's just gonna make things a little bit easier. Let's go to sport. There we go. I can go down a couple of gears. Easy, like this is very easy to pedal uphill. I'm barely pushing against the chain. The bike's doing most of the work, honestly, even in sport here. There's a mode above that. This is auto. This is gonna be as hard as I'm pushing. The bike's gonna give me more power. And then let's go all the way up, turbo. Drop a couple more gears. There we go. Just motoring up this thing, no problem. Yeah, barely working at all. Just moving my legs, that's it. Nice. Okay, we're gonna turn it around, get over to Test Drive Island. I'm gonna show you guys all the settings in the app. I'm gonna make sure this bike is fully unlocked and see what we can do with it. Let's go. But just before we take it to Test Drive Island, let's make sure we know how quickly we can accelerate with this new Aventon. I always start right here at my lamp post, and up ahead, I've got a driveway pullout. Now, this, again, is gonna be a little bit different because there's no throttle on here, but if I put the bike in turbo, which is the most amount of power, let's see if we can pedal our way to 20 miles an hour before that driveway pullout without the throttle. You guys ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Drop a couple gears. Let's go 15, 17, 19, 21. Easy. Even without a throttle, putting a little bit of leg power plus the Aventon M easily gets us to 20 miles an hour. Woo! So let's find out if the Adventure M from Aventon can actually do 28 miles an hour. You guys know how it is. A lot of these e-bike brands will claim a certain speed, but that's best case scenario. And those scenarios are very, very hard to attain, right? You know, a 100-pound rider with a tailwind, downhill a little bit, right? Or even worse, they claim the speed that the wheel will spin by itself without any weight on the bike is the bike's top speed. But that's not real life. So let's see what kind of speed we can get out of the Adventure M today with me on it. For reference, I weigh about 190 pounds now, and on the website here, it does claim, it says 20 miles an hour, adjustable to 28 miles an hour. So let's do this. I downloaded the Aventon app. It's paired to my bike, and in more settings here, we can actually change the bike's speed limit, right? So out of the box, it's gonna be locked at 20 miles an hour, legal anywhere. You're not gonna get in any trouble anywhere you ride. Pedals, no throttle, 20 miles an hour, locked, perfect. But if you're in a place like I am today, there's no traffic, it's very rural, there's no cops, right? I could probably open it up and still be safe, right? So let's go all the way up to 28 miles an hour, which is the bike's max speed. We're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna turn on my bike's GPS speedometer, and hopefully you guys can see the bike speedometer. We're gonna see if these are about the same, you know, if things are honest here. And let's do this. I've got the bike set in turbo right now. You guys ready? 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So I'm gonna pedal my way, get some gears here. Here we go, 20 miles an hour already. I'm gonna drop some gears. 24, 26, 27, 28, 29, oh. Okay, there you go, confirmed. And I'm not even gonna try to push it because at 29, I just felt like I just hit a wall with the bike's power. Like it completely shut off. It was like I just all of a sudden like was rolling through molasses or something sticky. Whew. So 28 miles an hour confirmed. Nice. Okay, so I've turned the bike around now and we're gonna test the pedal assist modes or power modes like Aventon calls them. There's 4 on the bike. Well, maybe 5 if you count off. There's Eco, Sport, Auto, and Turbo. So like any other video, I'm gonna start in the granny gear here, which is gonna be the easiest to pedal. And I'm gonna start with no assistance whatsoever. I'm on a nice flat road, so it should be pretty decent. And the bike is considerably light for an e-bike with such a big battery. So let's get going. Granny gear, no problems pedaling this bike. Even if you run out of power, or even if you want to keep up to your friends that aren't on e-bikes, you can easily pedal this thing, no problem. Come across a hill, just to negate the bike's weight and all that stuff, you can probably just increase the power a little bit. There we go, so now I'm in eco. Can you guys hear the motor? A little bit, right? It's very, very quiet. Usually the mid-drive motors are super loud because they actually engage the chain as well, right? That's the way they drive the back wheel is with the chain. They just help your pedaling. So, nice. I'm gonna drop a couple of gears here. So in eco, without ghost pedaling, I could probably get up to about, 13 miles an hour. Let's go to sport. Drop a couple more gears. Nice power. This bike is so smooth, man. This just feels like a premium e-bike. No question about it. Everything is just refined and just, yeah, man. All I'm trying to say is you really get what you pay for with e-bikes. Okay, drop a couple more gears here. And sport gets me up to about 20 miles an hour. Let's go to auto. Auto doesn't really, do much as far as like additional power. I think auto is more of a, save the battery, right? If you push hard on the pedals, it's gonna give you lots of power. If you don't and you just chill, it's just gonna reserve the power, right? It's a very smart power setting. And then turbo, whoa, there we go. Nice wave of power. I can drop the gears here. Wow. So smooth and so quiet. I'm pretty impressed by this bike so far. So not only does this bike have electronic shifting, right? It's super easy. It's just click, click, just like a regular shifter. The paddles are the same. They're mapped out the same, but it's just a nice, easy click. Not only does it have this to make the shifting super nice and crisp and accurate, you're never gonna hear the chain skipping out on there. It's just micro-tuned for the derailleur to go exactly where the gears are, and it's super accurate and super crisp. But to add on top of that, Aventon put a feature in here called auto shift. So if I turn that on, you get 3 sliders here. You get expected cadence, so that's your RPM. I'm gonna go, why don't we just stick it at default settings? So it says 60 RPM cadence, sensitivity is 3, and motor torque limit, you can actually turn this on or off, but it goes between 10 and 60, and it's set at 35 right now, which is default, right? So let's see what this auto shift is all about. Actually, you know what? I'll keep the app open, and let's see if the bike shifts for us. Yeah, so I'm not touching the gears at all here, right? Now the bike is noticing that I'm kind of going slow, right? And it shifted for me into an easier gear. So as I get going faster, there you go, just clicked into a harder gear. I'll get going faster. Yeah, there you go, harder gear again. Harder gear again, and as I'm gaining speed, it's just keeping me in a nice locked on gear. How cool is that? I have never seen this on an e-bike before. I mean, there's some e-mountain bikes that are starting to do auto shift here, but on an e-bike in the $2,000 range like this is pretty impressive. So what happens here, without touching the gears, I'm gonna start slowing down. And the bike is automatically getting me into some easier gears. Look at this. This is so cool. Nice easy gears all the way up. If I'm just crawling along or climbing a hill. This is so cool. Okay, so let's go, you know what, I'm gonna keep the motor torque limit at 35 because I'm assuming if you increase the motor torque limit, right, as you're shifting, it's really gonna affect the gears, right? It's gonna put a lot of tension on the chain, and while you're shifting, it's probably not good for the drivetrain. It'll probably wear it out way too fast. But let's increase the sensitivity and let's lower the cadence a little bit. Let's go to 45. So let's start pedaling here. There we go. I'm going a little faster. Look at that, it's just shifting super fast for me. This is so cool. I don't have to do anything. I literally just move my feet and the bike gets me into the perfect gear. I slow down. Look at this. I'm slowing down my cadence and now the bike is shifting up into the easier gears for me, ready for slower speed. Man, this is blowing my mind. This is pretty cool. So while we're at it, let me show you the whole app here. Here's what the icon looks like. So we're gonna go in here. You can actually name your bike a different thing, right? It shows you your riding time, the odometer. You can turn the bike's power on and off remotely with your phone. You can lock it, unlock it, turn the lights on and off with your phone without going through the menu or any of that. It shows you your exact percentage, just like on the screen here, 96% battery, 96% battery. You can change the riding modes, eco, sport, auto, turbo, they're all there. All right, I'm gonna keep it in auto. This seems to be the best for me. If you need service with your bike, you can actually click here and see all the dealers in your location. Look at this map. Look at how many dealers across the US and even up here into Canada. There's Aventon dealerships everywhere. In Kelowna, Kamloops, they're all over Vancouver, Abbotsford, Richmond, Surrey, they're everywhere. This is insane. I've never seen this much support for any e-bike brand ever. That's what you get when you buy from a big brand like Aventon. Everything you need to do with your bike is in that app. Very nice. So I'm pedaling my way over to get set up for the brake test, and I just noticed that auto shift happens without you even turning the cranks. Look at this. Hopefully the camera in the back can actually show you, but I'm gonna try and get some speed here. Okay, here we go. Let's get some speed. So now I'm pedaling and the bike is shifting me into harder gears, right? But watch what happens when I go from, 23 miles an hour. I'm gonna stop pedaling and just slow down. Slow down nice and easy. Watch what happens to the back. The motor is turning the chainring by itself, and the bike is putting itself into a gear that's going to be perfect for when I start pedaling again. How crazy is that? So now I can easily start pedaling from a slower speed, and I'm in an easy gear automatically. Look at this. So get going, stop pedaling. Now the bike is just changing gears for me. Going into a nice easy gear. And as I slow down, it goes into easier and easier gears to match the speed that I'm gonna start pedaling at again. This is crazy. I am mind blown at the technology that they put into this fat tire e-bike. Nice work, guys. Okay, so while we head over to set up for the brake test, I just want to take a quick minute and talk about my first initial impressions on this bike. So far I've done 4.5 miles just riding from my house. We've done the hill climb. I've done a little bit of the pedal testing and all that stuff. But man, I know this bike isn't cheap, right? For a fat tire e-bike, with front suspension and a suspension seat post, right? It's not, you know, it doesn't sound like it should be worth that much. But if you want a premium bike that's quiet, that's powerful, like you can't hear this motor at all. There's like a tiny little bit of a whine. I am mind blown at how quiet this motor is. I have a state-of-the-art $10,000 mountain bike that I ride all the time on my local trails when I go mountain biking, and that motor is louder than this one. This is insane. Whatever they've done inside this motor to make it super quiet, I know there's gears in there, I know there's a lot of stuff working together, but whatever they've done inside that little motor to make it this quiet, and you guys saw, I mean, the app, all the bike settings, the auto shifting, it's just blowing my mind. The amount of tech and premium features they've been able to slide into this bike. Absolutely awesome. Up until now, we've ridden the Aventon M on some nice, smooth roads. But this is where the road gets a little bit rougher. The road here is super pitted, like it almost looks like gravel, but it's not. It's just super old cracked pavement. And there's a bunch of pretty decent potholes up here. I'm curious to see how well this fork reacts and this seat post, right? It's a little bit loud right now. I think it needs a little bit of grease maybe on the actual stanchion of the seat post, but it's definitely working well. So let's see how well it works when I hit some bumps. I'm gonna get some speed here and just go head on into these potholes. Let's see how comfortable this bike is when the road gets rough. Okay, here's our first pothole. Let's see. Nice. I don't know if it must be a mix of the fat tires and the seat post, but I didn't feel anything. That was awesome. I was expecting something much rougher. This seat post is working better than some of the rear suspension on some of these cheap bikes. Very nice. Here we go, let's set up for the brake test. Here's the marker I want to stop by, and I've got about a 20-foot distance to where I'm gonna go about 28 miles an hour with the Aventon M and slam on the brakes. Now I have full confidence in these brakes. These are a set of 4-piston SRAM DB4s. These are 4-piston hydraulic brakes from one of the biggest mountain bike and cycling group set brands on the market right now. They make everything for mountain bikes, road bikes, and now e-bikes apparently, right? So this is a 200mm rotor in the front, and in the back it looks like it's a little bit smaller at 180 mils, but 70% of your braking power happens to the front, right? As the bike is taking all that momentum and then stopping, all the weight goes to the front wheel. So all we need is for this big fat tire to grip the ground and bring us to a stop. So let's do that. I'm gonna get some distance here, get the bike going full speed at 28 miles an hour and just slam on the brakes, see what happens. Okay, this should be far enough. Let's turn around here. You guys ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Let's get some speed. I've got the GPS here. We're gonna get to 28 miles an hour. Drop some gears. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and brake. Ooh, did you guys see that? This has never happened on any e-bike I've ever reviewed before. I had all my weight on the seat, and the amount of power that was going to that front wheel, the bike actually lifted up the rear wheel. I did a nose manual to come to a stop, And look at this. I still have well over a bike length of room to my 20-foot distance. That's insane. I know this bike is a pretty penny, but again, you guys see it, like the proof is in the pudding. You get what you pay for. This is one of the best sets of brakes I've ever felt on a new bike, on an e-bike, on a new e-bike. And they're barely not, I don't even think they're properly bed in yet. That was insane. From the grip I got with the tires on the ground to the bite I got up front to get me that rear wheel up, wow, I'm just blown away. Guys, honestly, just blown away. With everything that's happening here as far as braking's concerned, everything here definitely gets a check mark from me. Nice work. So we've seen the Adventure M on smooth roads, rough roads. Now let's take it off-road and maybe onto the beach, we'll see. I haven't ridden a mid-drive motor on the beach in a long time, especially one without a throttle. So let's see what kind of mess we can get into. Okay, here we go. Prickles hanging out. It's so weird having to pedal through here. I'm usually just motoring like a dirt bike. Woo! I'm not gonna go through there. I know there's a tree down. How's our beach? Do we have any? Oh yeah. Nice. Okay, here we are, the beach. So let's see what kind of traction and torque we can get from this mid-drive motor on the beach. You guys ready? I'm gonna keep the bike in turbo just so we can get the most amount of power and torque from the motor. I'm gonna get myself into a nice, simple, easy gear and then see if we can make our way through the sand. Let's go. There we go. Oh man. I gotta say, this bike is probably having the easiest time through the sand out of like every bike I've tested this year. No word of a lie. I am barely touching the cranks. Oh my God. And this sand here is loose, right? It is loose. I'm digging in here and this bike is having zero issues getting through the sand. Now, turning is a different story, but as long as you keep it straight, the tires don't sink into the sand, they're nice and big and wide, gives you plenty platform to get onto the sand and just stay there, stay on the surface, right? Those little skinny tires, right, like on the Ramblers would just sink right through here and, you know, easily get you into some trouble. But this thing, like, look, I am barely touching the cranks. I am just easily going through this with zero effort, just spinning my legs. That's it. And the bike is just doing all the work. I can even get into some harder gears here and probably go even faster. Yeah, easy. Easy. So this is gonna be the biggest differentiator between the Ramblers and this here Adventure M is, you know, the type of terrain you can take it on, right? If the terrain you're gonna be taking it on is more bike trails, like mountain bike trails, that's an easy choice. The Ramblers all day, right? More travel with the front fork, more E-MTB focused. But, you know, if you're just gonna go on adventures like this bike is called, you know, you could be sand, snow, dirt, gravel, anything. This might be the bike for you. Let's get ourselves out of the woods. Just ate a bug. Let's take 2 minutes and talk about bike and ride quality on the brand new Aventon Adventure M here. And let's go through all the components, starting with the contact points. The grips, 10 out of 10. Nice, soft rubber, and they lock on. I wouldn't change these grips. In fact, when they wear out, I'd probably replace them with the same ones or something very close to the same. Love these grips, no complaints. The seat, very comfortable. I've been on the bike for about an hour now, and there are 0 pressure points. It's nice and wide, there's lots of cushion, 0 issues with the seat. The seat post, however, like you guys have probably heard throughout the video, it's a little bit rough. It makes quite a bit of noise. You know, if you guys hear that, like it's almost like the spring inside the seat post needs grease, right? Like I don't think it's the outside that needs grease. It's the spring that's like tightly wound inside that's kind of creaking against the inner sides of the seat post. So I don't know how to fix that. You know what, worst case scenario, getting yourself a nice aftermarket seat post. It's not that much. In fact, what I would probably do if I was to keep a bike like this is ditch the suspension seat post, because I don't think I'd get a lot of use out of it. What I would replace it with is a nice dropper post, right? Put a nice little remote right here on the left with your thumb, and you know, you're able to ditch the seat, get it all the way down so you can get some nice clearance. When you're standing on the pedals and navigating through some rough terrain, your seat is out of the way, gives you plenty of room between your butt and the seat to use your legs as extra suspension. And then when you're pedaling, flip the switch and get your seat right up to the perfect sitting position to get some nice stretch out of your legs while you're pedaling. That's what I would do. I would replace this suspension seat post with a nice dropper post. That's it. The pedals are fine. They're plastic pedals, but they've got quite a bit of grip. The little pegs, right, the little spikes on the pedals are quite long, so they dig into your shoes and they give you quite a bit of grip. I'm pretty surprised, but you know, they're plastic pedals, so they probably wear out. 20-30 bucks on Amazon, you can get a nice set of aluminum pedals with some really decent spikes on there, lots of grip, lots of durability, easy fix. But that's probably what I would do. The frame is perfect. For a bike like this, you know, I've got the regular size here, and the nice thing is Aventon gives you 2 choices for size. Not a lot of e-bike brands make the same bike in 2 different sizes, right? It's normally one size fits most. But Aventon actually gives you the choice here. This regular fits me like a glove. I'm 5'9", and I prefer a shorter bike. I don't really like to be stretched out reaching for the handlebars, so I prefer it short. In fact, if I was to keep this bike, I'd probably get the stem a little bit shorter, right? Same thing, 40-50 bucks, you can get a nice short stem from Amazon, replace it, keep the bars are great, nice little rise on there, but I would prefer to get them in even closer to me, would make me a little bit more comfortable on the bike. But you know what, this regular size, you know, it's super easy to reach the ground, nice low standover, so even if you're in the, you know, the lower 5'2", 5'3s, you can still get onto this bike with the seat all the way down. Perfect. And if you're taller, you get yourself the large size, right? You're gonna get even more reach, even higher standover, right? Even more room for your long legs and your long arms. So you've got the choice. But as far as build quality, this by far is the highest quality fat tire e-bike frame I've ever seen. The battery integration, the lights integrated into the rear triangle, you know, the mid-drive motor, everything on this bike just fits, and there's nothing that's out of place. Love the frame on this. The suspension is also great. Like, listen to this. There's no clunk, there's no spring back up to the top position. The fork feels awesome. There's lockout, there's preload. I haven't touched a single thing on it, and it just feels perfect for my weight. Now the suspension seat post we've already talked about. I would ditch that thing or try to grease the inside of it. I don't know how, but I'd probably try. Ooh, look at that snake. Whoa, I haven't seen one of those in a long time. That was a big boy too. Where was I? The other thing that adds to the bike's comfort as far as suspension goes are these big tires, right? You can easily just air them down to, 15, 10 PSI and get even more comfort, even more suspension with those big tires, right? So you don't really need a rear suspension bike for traction if all you're looking for is comfort against the little roots and rocks and little bumps on the gravel trails. This is all you need. You don't need a big full suspension bike for that. And while we're at it, the tires are awesome. Nice, steady center channel to keep them nice and quiet. They don't make that annoying sound down the road, right? Everything on this bike just seems quiet and refined. I love the tires on this bike. Lots of grip in the sand. You guys saw how easily the bike would just churn through the sand, get a ton of grip. In the trails, no problems, never slid out once. Tires are perfect for a bike like this. The brakes, same story, right? I'm gonna go on a limb and say this is the best set of brakes I've tested on any e-bike this year. Love these brakes. They're made by a huge company that makes very, very high quality mountain bike and road bike components, and putting these on a bike like this just makes this bike's quality go up tenfold. Big 200 mil rotor up front, lots of bike. You guys saw when we slammed on the brakes, the rear of the bike even lifted up and I was nose manualing through to a stop. I've never had that happen before. Awesome to see. They came perfectly centered right out of the factory. Like it seems to me like someone who actually cared put the bike together in the factory and then just took off the front wheel, took off the handlebars, boxed it well, and sent it to me, right? All I had to do was slide the through axle back into the fork, put the bars on, and everything is just perfectly tuned. I didn't have to do anything to the brakes. I didn't have to do anything to the shifting. Oh my God, I almost forgot about the shifting. Guys, this electronic shifter is by far the most accurate shifter I've ever had on a bike. I mean, I know you guys are all gonna say, well, e-bikes aren't, really supposed to be pedaled, and a lot of the bikes that we ride on the channel here are throttle centric, right? They're gonna be little motorcycles. You're gonna wanna bomb around just like a motorcycle with a throttle. But a bike like this is completely different, right? You buy a bike like this to get some exercise. Obviously, the motor is going to do most of the work and get you out there, right? It's going to give you range that you don't have the capability for. It's just going to make it so much more enjoyable to get outside, get on a bike, start pedaling, just get your limbs moving, right? You start off and you're out of shape, use a ton of power and just get moving, right? And then as you go, you're probably gonna gain some fitness and you can lower the bike's power and you put in more power. It's completely tunable. This bike will make you a better human, bar none. All you gotta do is get on and start pedaling. Pick a destination and just go. And finally, the electronics. What can I say? I am blown away with the level and amount of tech that is in this brand new Adventure M from Aventon. The screen is awesome. This is one of the only color screens that you can see in the bright sun. Look at this. The sun's right above my shoulder here, and I can see this screen clear as day. I can see that I have 79% left in my battery. I can see the power that's going to my motor right now. I can see my miles an hour, my odometer. I can see that I've got 26 miles left to range in my battery if I was to just keep this amount of power. Everything is just there and you can see it clear as day. Love this screen. It's not the biggest, but it has everything that I want and need right here. Lights. Everything is kitted out. The only thing you don't get are turn signals up front, but you get a nice, small, punchy light bulb up front. You get integrated brake and turn signals built into the frame right in the back. You can see it from both sides. Super nice, super easy, very sleek integration. The shifting, the electronic shifting, the automatic shifting is so cool. If you just want to get up, get on a bike and go and not think about anything, you just turn on all the options and the bike does everything for you. It'll shift for you. You just got to put it into whatever power mode you want or leave it in auto, and then the bike can just manage that for you too. And it'll do it in silence. This is by far one of the most silent mid-drive motors I have ever had the pleasure of riding. And it's powerful too, like tons of torque. The beauty with a mid-drive motor is that you use the bike's gears to get additional torque, right? The motor will give you the power, but you're not stuck to just one small gear. You can go into the granny gear and just multiply your torque tenfold. You get a derailleur, you get a bunch of gears, you get a mid-drive motor that drives the chain, you get a good system that manages the power, and then you get a torque sensor that sees how hard you're actually pushing on the pedals and gives you the exact amount of power you're requesting for every time. That's as good as it gets in my book. Okay, I'm almost at half battery and let's do this test. I've got another hill here. Let's see how easy or how much less power this bike gives us at half battery. So, is the hill gonna be just as easy as the start of the video on that first hill climb? Yep. This motor is so efficient at giving power and reserving power when it doesn't need it. Plus the fact that this bike doesn't come with a throttle lets you save so much power. It's insane. I've gone 17 miles already and I'm not even at half battery. Crazy. Range report. So I've just hit the 55% mark on my battery. I've done 17.6 miles and it shows me a range of 17.7 miles left. That's not bad. That's well over 30 miles of range. Oh, and I found what was creaking in my seat post. It's actually not the suspension seat post. I need to grease inside the clamp where it's actually mounting to the seat. This is what's creaking. Listen to this. Right? It's not the suspension seat post. I thought for sure it was the suspension seat post. The springs inside was kind of like rubbing against the inside of the tube, but it's not. It's just the clamp here. That's a super easy fix. Right, so $1 million question. Who's the Aventon M really for? Well, in my personal opinion, this is obviously gonna be for someone who wants to get outside, pedal, and get into better shape with an e-bike. Obviously, you're maybe not in the best shape in your life, but you want to get outside, you want to get more exercise. You're a little bit timid to tackle these big hills and you know, it sounds like an obstacle, so you want to get something to help with that. This is definitely a bike to look at. Obviously, with the amount of tech that's built into this bike, you have to be a little bit tech savvy, right? You have to be able to download the app, update everything, and go through the settings. But like I showed you, even an idiot like me can figure it out. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna be able to. You know, you don't have to be an avid bike rider to get along with a bike like this. You can turn on all the automatic features and get the bike to just do all the work for you. From automatically setting the power to automatically shifting you in the gear that you need to be in. The only thing it doesn't do by itself is make you dinner, so it's well worth the price. Obviously, there's cheaper bikes out there, but man, if you want the reliability, the level of service, and the overall network of support that Aventon has developed all over North America, look at their bikes. Now the Adventure comes in a few different models. Some still have the hub drive, but there's a bunch of features and a bunch of benefits to getting this Adventure M. The main one is obviously the main drive motor, right? To get the premium amount of torque through sand, through snow. If you're gonna be riding over loose terrain like this is the bike to get. That little hub motor in the regular Adventure would have definitely struggled in the sand. This ate sand for breakfast. There was very little effort on my part in the off-road and onto the beach. This bike just eats up loose terrain, no problems. The other benefit to this mid-drive motor is that it's pretty much completely silent. You can hear it just a little bit, but it's definitely quieter than a lot of the hub drive motors out there. A lot of you guys are gonna compare this Adventure M to maybe the Rambless, right, that I reviewed a few months ago. And you know, you're right to do so. They're very, very similar bikes as far as quality, as far as build quality. They're very similar bikes. The main difference between the two is going to be this bike has a lot more technology, like the auto shift and the fat tires, right? If you're going to be riding over loose terrain like sand, like snow, this is what you need. You need tires that are going to stay on the surface of that loose terrain. Those little 2.5-inch tires would just dig into the sand and there's no way you'd get yourself out without walking. If you're after riding mountain bike trails, like the trails that I rode in the Rambless video, by the way, if you missed it, I'll put a link to it right here. The trails I rode with the Rambless, right, are more mountain bike trails. There's berms and jumps. It's a little bit lighter. The wheels are bigger, so they roll faster, but they're skinnier, right? So that's the main difference between the two. Both great bikes though. Absolutely loved both of them. So, if the Aventon Adventure M sounds like it's the perfect bike for you, do yourself a favor, click on the link in the description box below, or better yet, use your phone's camera to scan this QR code here. It'll take you right to their website. If they've got a sale going on, you're gonna be guaranteed the best price. And if I'm lucky enough to get a discount code from Aventon, I'll put it right in the description box. So don't forget to look in there, and if there's something, don't forget to use it. It'll save you some money. And if for whatever reason the Adventure M is not the perfect bike for you, that's okay. Maybe the bike in this video will be more what you're looking for. I'll see you over there.